You're now watching the Mike Missanelli podcast on the BetRivers Network.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Mike Missanelli podcast. It's another week and it's another podcast brought to you by BetRivers. It's podcast number 164. We're doing Tuesday, February 20th. And, of course, the weekend had some action, even though the NBA is on a hiatus. All-Star Weekend is always something I look forward to. And it's not because of the game. And we'll get to that in a second because there are a lot of people complaining about the game. And I go, what are you expecting? Like the people, like these pundits that come out, the NBA All-Star Game. Do you actually think that they're going to take that seriously? Like the Pro Bowl all these years. Like, you actually think those guys are going to take it seriously? So they made an alteration in the NFL. And they're probably going to make the same one in the NBA. We'll get that in a second because the weekend starts with the celebrity game. And I always look in on a celebrity game. It's a Friday night. I know a lot of people have a regular life and they probably go out for dinner. Me, I'm a loser. So I stay in and I'm watching the celebrity game and just to see who's in it and who's got some game. Now, in the past, I've been surprised with guys that had game. You know, who has game? The lead singer from Arcade Fire. Win Butler. He's like, oh, I couldn't believe it. That guy's got some game. And so these randos show up every now and then, and they have some game. Well, in this game, it was dominated by Micah Parsons. My man can play. He's firing threes. He's dunking on fast breaks. I'm going, this guy must play a lot of basketball. But in any event, half the people that were playing, I had no idea who they were. You know why? Because they were internet influencers. Listen, I don't want to be an old guy, all right? But how do you get famous enough to be an internet influencer to be part of an NBA celebrity game? I don't get it. There was this one little guard. His name is Tass, Jay Tass. And he's some kind of internet. He posts videos on YouTube or whatever. He's some YouTube star. He's a little guy, but he can play a little bit. So he had a little bit of game. And I'm looking over here. This guy is from an influencer. This person over here is an influencer. What has happened in this game where you actually used to have celebrities in the game that you would see on a movie screen or something, and now these influencers are part of the game? All right, so I got tired of that. I bailed out at halftime. But it was funny. This guy, Tass, if you look him up, I don't really know who he is. But he took like 10 the first 15 shots. And so at halftime, he goes over, and Kelsey Plum, who's, for my money, as obnoxious as it is. I see her on a commercial. She's in the WNBA. She used to have the all-time scoring record in NCAA basketball for the University of Washington until Caitlin Clark just eclipsed it. And she, like, the guy goes over and she fist bumps with him. And she goes, yo, dude, pass the ball. Where do you get the nerve? There's a celebrity game. Anyway, I get a kick out of these little moments of these faux celebrities playing. Now we go to Saturday night, which I find really interesting. Just like I find the NHL skills competition interesting. I don't watch the game at all, but I do watch the skills competition. I like to see those guys use their creativity in skating or shooting or whatever. And the same with the NBA. And it starts off with a 3-team skill competition. And there were a bunch of teams. They put together a Pacer team. They put together the number 1 draft pick team. They put together an all-star team in groups of 3 to go through all these skill ramifications where you're passing the ball through a thing and then you're dribbling it around. And it's like a relay and the whole bit. And watching the game, and Maxey's in it. And Maxey takes the wrong route. So like this court is lit up, right? It's one of these magnificent nouveau courts where it's all AI engineered, and so the court shows you the way. Like there's arrows that are on the court, like fire and whole bit, and it shows you where you have to go around these obstacles. And Maxey takes the wrong route. I'm going, dude, what's up? And then Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors dribbles the ball off his foot. Take it seriously, for Christ's sake. It was embarrassing. So anyway, we get to Anthony Edwards because at the end of the skills competition, you gotta make it. Or not in the end, right before the end, before you dribble the length of the court, and make a layup, you got to make a 3-point shot. This dude decides to shoot it left-handed. Now I'm going, why would you do something like that? Like, what do you have to gain shooting it left-handed? And it dawned on me, because what he's doing is letting his team down, because he missed it. So it throws you off of your timing and a whole bit. And I'm going, he was afraid to actually miss right-handed. So he decided, if I shoot left-handed, nobody can blame me because I'm shooting left-handed, whatever it is. But this is the stuff that goes through these guys' minds. And I'm like, come on, dude. At least the fans are in there. It's like the sellout crowd inside the arena, right? You would think that they would be there to see the competition, right? And listen, I like Anthony Edwards, but I'm going, dude, are you that filled with yourself that you got to shoot it left-handed? Anyway, that's my beef, because those kind of things infuriate me. And so now we get to the 3-point shooting contest, which for my money is probably the best competition, because you got some really good shooters using all the racks going around, and the four people tie with a score of 26. Every person in the competition was over 20, which is amazing in point totals, and 4 people tied for 26. Jalen Brunson had one shot to get to 26, his last ball, and he didn't make it. So he was out of the competition, which was eventually won by Damian Lillard, who waited for the last shot. He missed 4 in the last rack, and he makes the one to win it. And that was fun. It was really entertaining with really good shooters. Now, Steph wasn't in it because Steph now has the next 3-point shooting contest where he's going against Sabrina Ionescu. And the big controversy there is, would Sabrina Ionescu shoot from the WNBA line, or would she shoot from the NBA line? She decided to shoot from the NBA line. I'll give her a lot of credit. And she went first, where there's a lot of pressure. She made her first 7 shots. But here's the rub. The WNBA ball is smaller than the NBA ball. So I go, all right, but she puts up a big score of 26. Now, Steph Curry, the greatest shooter in the world, believe me when I tell you, there's pressure on him because people want to see if he can beat Sabrina Ionescu. And he winds up beating her on the last shot. So that was all good. It was all entertaining. Now we get to the dunk contest. Nobody in the NBA, no star, wants to compete in it. So you have the also-rans. It's the also-ran competition. The biggest name was Jaylen Brown, and I'll give him some credit that Jaylen Brown, the biggest star in the league, decided to get in it. But Jaylen Brown's not exactly a creative dunker. He's a power dunker, and he dunks over people in games. So he wasn't going to win it. The other 3 were Mac McClung from the G League, who won it last year as a member of, like, a faux member of the Sixers. He played with the Sixers for like a half an hour. Josh Toppin, who's the brother of Obi Toppin, who has a 2-way contract with the Knicks. I don't think he's played a minute for the Knicks yet. And who was the last guy? I can't even remember who the last guy was because it was that non-sequential. So I have a brilliant way to restyle the dunk contest. And I've been saying this for years. When I was on the radio, I said it. It is absolutely brilliant, especially now that college players get NIL money. I watch these videos on YouTube of these high schoolers who dunk. They're amazing. So I would have the high schoolers versus the college guys versus the NBA guys. And I would appeal to the NBA players who are really the big name players who are known for dunking, and I would incentivize them with a $2 million prize if they win the competition. Meanwhile, the league can give NIL money to the schools of all the dunkers who entered the contest, and then the high schoolers would get money for their school to build gyms and such, or beef up the educational program. It's a brilliant idea, and nobody has thought of it. Why? I don't get it. Don't you think you would tune in to see if a high school kid could beat an NBA guy in a dunk contest, or a college guy could beat an NBA in a contest? And what would happen with the NBA players? They would go, man, we can't get beat by these dudes. So let's bring in our best dunkers because at the end of the day, they have some pride. And if you attach $2 million to it, they're coming out. It's a brilliant idea. Darren, I gotta come to you because this idea, I've thrown it out in space. I can't believe that of the thousands of people that have heard this, not one NBA executive have called me yet.
I would love to see high schoolers and college kids take part. It's a great idea. The only thing I would add, now most of these, any high schooler that's going to participate is probably going to be getting a full ride scholarship. I would add, if he has to pay, any participant, by the way, if they have to pay, anything in college, that's covered. But that's the only tweak I would make.
What do you mean if they have to pay?
Like if there's
They're not paying anything now.
No. I'm saying whenever high school participant, once
You
they
said
go
college
to
at first. So you're talking about high school now?
I meant high schoolers.
Okay.
I'm talking about this is the only tweak I would make. Any high schoolers that participate. Now, again, most of them are already getting full ride scholarships. But if any of them need any money towards their education, that would be covered. That's the only tweak. I would add that in.
High school kids get NIL money too. They're getting NIL money.
I know that, but you're saying the money goes towards the school that they're getting.
Yeah, they would get a portion of it, and then a portion of it would go to the school to build better their gymnasium or whatever.
I didn't think you said portion of them goes to them particularly.
All right, well,
yes, okay,
you can give them a portion. It would kind of be in the form of an NIL. Especially
then
now
you
could
go.
do that. It's a brilliant idea, and people are stupid in the NBA because I don't want to freaking see Mac McClung anymore. Hey, the kid's a good dunker. I get it. Come on. Was he drawing people? No.
Yeah, there's 20 guys on New York City schoolyards that can dunk like him.
Exactly. I
can't or in the courts of Sea Isle City in the summer.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on now because it's celebrities in the crowd that I love to see the celebrities who come to the All-Star game get the first row tickets. But I am tired of seeing Guy Fieri's fat face on the screen. I just can't take it anymore. He's everywhere. He's on every Food Network channel. He's got Guy's grocery store run or whatever the frick he has. He's got the diners, drive-ins, and dives. He's got Guys, whatever, gross. Whatever he does, I'm overexposed. And now, especially, that he's bringing his kids into the fore. He's got to give his kid a part on diners, drive-ins, and dives. Do you think anybody cares about his kid? All right, it's his kid. God love him. He loves his kid. But I don't want to see him. So he's there with his big fat face with a cigar in his mouth. Now, it's not lit, but he's got the chains and the cigar. And I go, okay, he's there for Saturday. I won't have to see him. Sunday, I got to see his face in the frame again during the game. Now, the game is ridiculous, okay? And a lot of people are complaining about the actual All-Star game on Sunday. And I go, why are you complaining? What did you expect? What do you expect? That these guys are going to play hard in an All-Star game? We have raised the level to the point where they think of themselves as entitled commodities. They're not, no matter, Adam Silver could come into the locker room and lecture and tell them to play hard, and they're going to go, phenomenal. They don't have any incentive to play hard. You think they have any incentive to play defense in a game like that? I love these people that have the outrage. So one team scored 211 points. The other team scored 186 because they get up and down the court in like 3 seconds flat and score. Or they shoot 100 threes. Naturally, the score is going to be high. And nobody's going to defend because these guys think I'm in that game for one reason, just to show off a little bit. I'm not going to play defense. We think I'm going to pull a hamstring? I'm going to try to stop somebody on a fast break? And how do people do not recognize this? So do away with the game completely. You don't have to have the game. Just have a skills weekend. The game is ridiculous. Now, I happen to like the athleticism back and forth with the dunks and the alley-oops and the three-point shot. I like all that stuff because it's a skill. But most people are turned off by that, especially these holier-than-thou pundits that go, well, there should be defense in this game. I'm going, what are you kidding me? These guys are making $50 million a year. They go, well, back in the day, they played defense. It's because they weren't making $50 million a year. When you put yourself at that pedestal, they go, well, I'm making $50 million. I'm bigger than the game. I'm not going to put any effort in a freaking all-star game and get hurt and blow my bag. It's just silly for people to be upset by it. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Sixers. Kyle Lowry's joining the squad when the Sixers resume play. Their roster is kind of set right now. They're hoping they can win enough games by the time Embiid comes back. Let me tell you what they're up against. So right now, they're the 5th seed. They're 2 games ahead of the Pacers, who are the 6th seed. And right now, the 4th seed, New York Knicks. So the Sixers, if the season ended right now, would play the Knicks in their first playoff series. That would be a tough series for them to win, whether Embiid's back or not, because we don't know what kind of shape he would be in, whether he'd be 100% healthy. So let's look at their schedule to see if they can win enough games to get out of that spot. Their first game is Thursday. We're doing this on Tuesday, of course, the Mike Missanelli podcast. Guess who it's against? The Knicks. The Knicks at home. Now, they got Thursday against the Knicks, Friday against the Cavs in a back-to-back, right? Now, I'm going to tell you, since we're BetRivers is sponsoring us, and sometimes I like to give sure bets. If you don't bet the Cavs in that game, you're a fool. Because this is revenge for the Cavs. The Sixers upset them last week in Cleveland, and it's a back-to-back for the Sixers. This is the bet of the year. It might be the bet of the year to bet the Cavs. All right, so that's loss. Then it's Sunday, the Bucks loss. And then it's Tuesday, the next Tuesday, at Boston. So the Sixers are likely to come out of the chute loss. In fact, if you look at their games, it looks like the best they could do is 4-7 in their first 11 games coming out of the break, which would drop them down into that plunge rate of 6, 7, 8 seed and maybe play in tournament. They play Charlotte, win. At Dallas is a loss. At Brooklyn's probably a win. Memphis, a win. New Orleans is a loss. And then at the Knicks in a home and home. They might win one of those games. So my point is, it's really not looking good for the Sixers to get a favorable seed. And so when you look at it, I don't know. I would love to be optimistic because Embiid's coming back. But I'm sorry, I just can't be. And so this season is really putting a knife into my heart that the Sixers really it's kind of hopeless for me to think the Sixers could do anything. But keep the faith. I know Sixers fans, you're very faithful. Keep the faith. Maybe they can do something by the time you get to the spot where Embiid's playing and he goes out of his mind and he carries them and whatever. All right. Let's talk about the Phillies. Whit Merrifield. Good signing. 35 years old now. Whit Merrifield was actually a member of a 2-time national championship college baseball team at South Carolina with local guy Christian Walker, the first baseman for the Arizona Diamondbacks. They were buddies. In fact, Whit Merrifield called Christian and said, "What should I expect playing in Philadelphia?" And Christian Walker, who played in that series, of course, they won, but he knows what the Philadelphia crowd's like. Sold him one, and it's pretty exciting to play there. So he's happy to be here. And so their roster is pretty much set. I don't think there's any room for any surprises now as you look at their roster. They will have 13 pitchers, the 8 starters, which leaves 5 bench players, who will be Merrifield, Stubbs, the backup catcher, Pache, Nick Cave, and Edmundo Sosa. Now, Merrifield is going to get a lot of at-bats because he can play every position. So whoever needs a day off, Merrifield's going to start. And I would not be surprised that he gets like 400 at-bats this year for the Phillies, playing as often. And he's a good hitter. He's not a power hitter, but he's obviously a good hitter. So, I like the idea of Pache and Cave being very important bench members, but That's what likely it's going to be, and their pitching staff. Who knows who's going to be the fourth and fifth starter at that point? That'll be settled by spring. Their bullpen looks like it's pretty set as well. So they're your Phillies as they're in spring training. Okay, I can't wait, frankly, for the baseball season to start. It's time to talk golf. The Genesis Open, which is in Los Angeles at Riviera Golf Course. Now, that golf course is spectacular. Everybody loves it. It happened to be designed by the same guy who designed the course that I play at. And his name is George Thomas. And he was from Flowertown. His father owned some kind of a farm, and they grew roses or whatever. So he had a background in horticulture. So this open land in Lafayette Hill area, he just got into golf course design, and he designed White Marsh Valley. People loved it so much, and the people who have won there is no joke. Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Tom Weiskopf, all these guys won at White Marsh Valley when there was a pro course, a pro tournament here called the IVB Classic. So it was so successful that they commissioned him to go to L.A. to design a couple of golf courses. So he designed Riviera and L.A. Country Club, which are spectacular. Just a little side note. This is not really what I want to talk about, the Genesis Open, which is Tiger Woods' personal tournament. So the PGA Tour is suffering from a lack of names because they all went and took the money with the Live Tour. So Tiger Woods is a big name. Tiger Woods withdraws after the first round, saying he was sick. Now, I don't know if he was or not, but it always seems to me when Tiger comes back to play a tournament, if he knows he's not going to be and make the cut, he's out the gate. All right. And nobody will say it because he's Tiger Woods. And I get it why golf commentators don't want to, get on his bad side because he'll shun them for the rest of his life. But that said, if you got flu-like symptoms, which is probably what he had, he's in a luxury hotel somewhere in LA. You would think, because it's his tournament, that he would stick around, stay in bed for a couple days where he's going to get all kinds of private doctor care and a bottle of NyQuil and just put the symptoms to the point where they get manageable enough so he can show up late Sunday afternoon to present the trophy in his own tournament. Instead, he's out the gate back to Florida. And I'm going, nobody says a word about it. He's got like total immunity for whatever he does. I get it. He was the greatest golfer in history. But don't you have to be called out for that kind of thing? He's not there to present the trophy in his own tournament. All right. I'm off my high horse because on Sunday, the final day of the tournament, which is usually the most exciting day, Patrick Cantlay, who is the personality of a wood floor plank, is the leader. Now, who's going to tune in for Patrick Cantlay, who's got no personality at all? And by the way, has a model wife. And what she sees in Patrick Cantlay, I don't know. But I guess it's the money. I guess, and God bless him. But anyway, he loses. He folds on Sunday. By the way, my BetRivers account, I bet Will Zalatoris to finish in the top two. And guess what happened? Will's out. This way, betting golf and BetRivers app is fantastic because you can bet guys to finish from 1 to 4, 1 to 2. You can bet the winner. So I got Will Zalatoris cachet. All right. So Hideki Matsuyama shoots 62, wins the tournament. Now, I don't want to be jingoistic here, but Hideki Matsuyama is a smart guy who went to college in Japan. He's been on the tour now, I don't know, 10 years? He can't say golf ball in English. And I'm going, dude, make an effort. Go to Babbel.com for crying out loud. So they're interviewing him. He's got to have an interpreter there. He's been here forever. He can't speak one word of English. Now, I looked up his background. He went to college in Japan. Now, I don't know what they do in Japan, but when I went to college, and I had a liberal arts program at college at Penn State, language was a requirement. You had to take a language. And you had to take a language in high school, too. So I took Spanish in high school, and I took a couple courses of Spanish in college. What do they do in Japan? They don't require another language? Darren, what's going on here in Japan?
I took Spanish too. I wish I took Italian. I still understand a lot of Italian, but yeah, I don't understand that either. How can you not say hello? Like I think he said thank you at the end, right? Like he knows those two words.
Thank you is the only word he knows.
I get bugged when players of any sport are around for a while.
I can understand the Dominicans that come over here. They're poor kids. They're not educated. They're going to learn English. They come here to survive by playing baseball. Right. The Japanese people who come here with monster contracts and also are usually educated in Japan. They're not like Dominican Republic guys who grow up hitting a rock with a broomstick. So I don't understand the Japanese people who come over here, and I can see like the first few years. He's been on tour for how long, this guy? And so
it's
come
fair
on,
point.
dude. Mix in a couple of English words. Have a little responsibility. Amanda Renner is interviewing the guy, and she's asking like the interpreter's going to whisper in his ear the question, and then he says back, I'm like, come on, what are they in Japan colleges? They have like no English class? Like, is that where they go? No,
usually
English.
the questions are pretty basic too. Like, it's not a very lingual question. Well, hold on. Before you go any further, speaking of college education and English words, I like to consider myself a pretty good wordsmith. Like, I enjoy writing. I've been nominated for awards for writing. What is jingoistic?
Jingoistic means you're partial to your country. You're an American who's a jingo who will protect. Like all you have to know is like you look down on other people who don't absorb the English language or way of life.
I learned a new word today. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, look it up. Jingoistic. All right. One other thing, like in college, I went to Penn State. Freshman year, they put you through these freshmen before classes start. They put you through these freshman orientation things. You had to swim 2 laps in the Olympic-sized pool and tread water for 10 minutes, or you had to take a phys ed class called fitness and health. Now, I guess you didn't have to do that, right?
They didn't have those, not at Rowan. No.
Of course not. So there you go. Penn State, before you even start a class, they test your swimming ability.
Wait, that's not even for the athletic program? That's for their academic program.
That's for regular students. Now, I don't know if they do it anymore, but when I went there, they go, okay, you gotta place out, because phys ed was a requirement. 4 credits you needed of phys ed. So you had to place out of that fitness and health class, and if you swam, you place out of it. So you had to tread water for 10 minutes and swim an Olympic-sized pool back and forth a couple times. Now, listen, that I did it because I learned, I knew how to swim and I knew how to tread water. But how many people can do that come into freshman college?
I don't think they're related, believe it or not. Like being able to swim or tread water isn't related at all to the knowledge of physical health.
They're testing your stamina.
Okay.
And they're testing your ability. If not, you have to take this special phys ed class. That's a requirement.
Well, here's what I like about that. I don't think colleges or even high schools teach enough about the common world or a regular life. There's no like economics classes are not really, they don't deal with everyday economics. They're like higher end business economics. So I like that. I like anything that can teach a young student to relate to the real world. I just don't see how one corresponds to the other. I don't understand how swimming or treading water relates
to cardio. Basically, it's cardio.
But like
they're testing your cardio. They throw you in the water instead of making you run a mile. No, actually, I think part of the test was you had to run a mile in under 8 minutes.
Because you're an Iron Man.
And I'm sure, like today, it would be like they probably don't do it today because it's probably looked at as abuse.
There's no way they do that.
But I had to do that, or I had to take this specific phys ed class. And the phys ed classes that you could take, like they're amazing. You could take any sport for phys ed. You could take bowling.
Yeah.
You could like I took lacrosse, right? Because I wanted to learn how to play lacrosse. I take lacrosse, and the instructor comes up. He goes, Missanelli, you're in a baseball team, right? I go, yeah. He goes, you don't have to take this class. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you get a credit for being on the team. I go, oh man, I wanted to learn. Then I put it like 2 and 2. Do I want to stay in a class or do I want to have time off to goof off? So I said, okay, I'm out the door.
There you go.
I never learned how to play lacrosse.
That's the Mikey miss, I know.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to some football issues because we're in a lull with football. You have the draft that's going to be coming up soon, and we'll be obsessed with it. But there's so many people that have to fill time talking about football, whether it's the radio, whether it's the NFL Network, TV, with the ESPN, whatever. So Chris Sims is at it again. Chris Sims, for some reason, is a hater of the nth degree, and especially of Jalen Hurts. And he called Jalen Hurts the most overrated player currently in the NFL. It's not the first time he's taken a shot at Jalen Hurts. And I'm thinking, like, where did your axe come from? Somebody ought to do some investigation about where his axe comes from with Jalen Hurts. But also on top of that, I saw a list that had Jalen Hurts as only the 15th best quarterback in the NFL. So I want to do a little exercise here with Darren to find out whether he is, in fact, ranked that low. All right, let's go over. I'm going to go over some quarterbacks, like number 1, Mahomes, right?
No question. Yeah.
All right, number 2, Lamar.
No, I would rank him lower than 2.
Okay, who would you put in 2?
I would put Joe Burrow at 2.
Who?
Joe Burrow.
Oh, stop it.
I would.
You can't. Not right now. You can't put him over Lamar Jackson.
If I'm starting a team and I have to choose one of
I'm
those
talking
two,
about right now,
Burrow.
ranking the quarterbacks right now. Lamar Jackson's coming off an MVP year.
Okay.
You're in love with Burrow. I swear to God. All right.
When he's healthy,
now, I'm overruling that one. So if number 1 is Mahomes, number 2 is Lamar, number 3, Burrow's not even number 3. Josh Allen is number 3.
I would put Allen after Burrow and before Jackson.
You're ridiculous, man. Burrow maybe is 4, but you got to give some love now to C.J. Stroud.
Really like Stroud.
Okay,
really
so
like
is C.J. Stroud right now in the top 5?
I think so.
Okay,
yeah.
So let's go. We got the 5 down. Now let's go now to the back half.
Okay.
Would you put Purdy at 6?
That's a little high for him.
Who else would you put there? There's Justin Herbert. There's Goff. There's Trevor Lawrence. There's Dak. Who else you putting there? There's Love.
Right now, I might put Jordan Love at 6.
Okay, I wouldn't, but all right, Love, and then Purdy.
Yeah, I'll go Purdy at 7. That's fine.
Okay, Purdy 7th, and 8th. Would you go Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert?
Herbert. I think Herbert is spectacular. I want to see him with a good coach.
All right, that would number 9. Would you put Hurts at 9 behind Herbert or Trevor Lawrence ahead of him? Is Stafford ahead of him?
I would put Stafford ahead of him. I would not put Trevor Lawrence.
Stafford is now number 9. Trevor Lawrence.
No.
Or Hurts?
Hurts.
All right, so Hurts, 10.
Well, who are the other 5? Who are the next 5? Might be 1 or 2.
You got Goff and Dak.
I just can't.
Would you put Goff ahead of Hurts right now? I would.
Yes, I would put Goff ahead of him.
All right, so I got Goff at 10, which makes Hurts at best number 11.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Okay, so that's a little better than 15. I don't know who else he would have ahead of him. There's Baker Mayfield, there's Dak Prescott, there's Geno Smith, there's Kyler Murray. So none of those guys would be ahead
none
of
of those guys I would put in front of Hurts.
All right, so we settle it. He is 11th at best. All right, so there you go. So that we're giving some love, local love to Jalen Hurts.
If you want to call it love, we bounced him out of the top 10. He's a 2-time MVP, strong contender, but nevertheless.
Listen, it's better than 15. All right, let's close it down. The Mike Missanelli podcast brought to you by BetRivers. You can email me, mike@mikemiss.com. You can check me out on Twitter at MikeMiss25. If you want a Cameo shout-out, go to Cameo.com. I'll give you a personal shout-out. And don't forget, I got a children's book that's kind of cute. I got a couple of elementary schools I'm going to be reading to in the next couple of weeks called The Adventures of Shima the Shiba. It's my crazy dog. And it's very well illustrated by my friend Alex Lee. And I think you'll like it. It's a great book for kids just learning how to read, or your parents read to the 3-year-old at night. All right, that'll about do it for Darren. I'm Mike Missanelli. Thanks for listening to the Mike Missanelli podcast. And don't forget, tell your friends and neighbors. You subscribe for free. Just go to Google, Mike Missanelli podcast. It'll pop up. Punch it up in whatever podcast network, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, whatever. And subscribe, and it'll come to your inbox for free. Have a great rest of the day, everybody, and we'll talk to you later this week. Bye-bye.